So, the brokenness of us, the molds, the broken molds. When I first thought about talking about this, I was thinking more along the lines of the molds of, set communities, like the way that we like to look at the world, our country, our communities as like, these set little pods, right? And those pods are sometimes ethnic and cultural. Those pods are socioeconomic. Those pods are demographic. Those pods are attitudinal. Because even if in your community you live in a certain type of within around a certain type of person or demographic or socioeconomic status, you may in fact seek pods or of cultural belonging or social belonging or whatever in other places online and in your work life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? And I think what happened with our lovely friend COVID is we were broken up. Some of us were shattered, by death, by illness, by just, and then some people were just really super disrupted by their lives being tossed up and them not being able to like do the same things they'd done every day, day after day, for year after year, and that was really troublesome, and that was really like mentally debilitating for a lot of people. But what I love about what's happening right now is that what it did is it shook everything up. And now you have, especially if you're out there, you're talking to people, you're on social media, because I try to avoid canned information like high level media, which I think is controlled by too many forces that I don't really like. Social media feels a little bit more like at least I can pick and choose what I see. I laugh a little bit, I think a little bit, I dismiss a lot. And then I move through the world and try and talk to people. But there's this sense of like brokenness where you can't categorize anymore. You can't see this type of group is just this way and that type of group is another way. And so all this like what I call now misinformation coming at me during COVID, like there was a red and a blue and it looked like this and sounded like this. So if you like this person, you thought this way, that way, that way, that way. If you like this other person or thing or group, or you aligned with this, whether we're talking like, all the stuff, the divisional stuff, the PD, Black Lives Matter, Republican, Democratic, all these parts and places and that were just like, you're either over here or you're over here. What I'm seeing as I continue to show up and watch and listen, mostly through humor. People are saying great things with humor right now. I'm watching like the fact that most people are kind of sort of over here, but also over here, and then a little bit over here, and then over there, and it's making me feel like I can actually belong in more places. And this is great. This is great. But also, part of that has been the people who have really chosen to kind of like let go of these old molds and traditions and categories and titles and labels that were holding them back, and they feel freer, right, because of the disruption of COVID. And then there's this other category of people who have also been broken and are now just kind of like sitting and idling in a broken mold, and they don't know where they belong, and they're kind of driving like 45 miles an hour in the left-hand lane on the LIE, or they're just like coasting through stop signs, or like wearing a mask in the car, or frenetically like up their kids' butts because they're so afraid of what might happen. Don't touch this! Don't touch that! Don't do this! And it's like this sense that I get, this like eerie sense of how many people are sort of have been broken open and now don't know where to go, and they're like dripping. Just in the same way, if you have like a potted plant, you put too much water and it's got a crack, it's gonna like ooze out that one side, and can't necessarily see the crack, but hours after you water it, you can see the drip underneath. There's a lot of that going on, right? So there's this beautiful, wonderful thing of people whose molds have been broken. They've cracked out of this staunch way that they used to think about being Republican or Democrat, or pro-police or pro-Black Lives Matter, or in any way this way or that way, in a strong sense, on anything having to do with social politics, civil rights, etc. And now people have become much, much, much more receptive to a lot of different things because they just were so disrupted that they almost kind of have no patience for being like, for categorizing themselves and other people. And then there's this other group of people that don't even know what to do, and they're kind of walking around afraid all the time. So I want to address this group of people because it doesn't have to be like that. There's a great capitalization, a great social, personal, and even spiritual journey that can happen for you when you start to resolve what happened over the past couple of years, how you handled it, how you're feeling, and what's going on for you in the world in a bigger sense. Because I have great hopes. And I know in my life, I've been, like the disruption of the past couple of years has been tremendously beneficial to my personal self-esteem, my work life, my financial success. And it's all about how you look at what's happened to you. All right. So don't know what all that means today, but if you're a broken mold, you're in the right place. Feel free to get in touch with me anytime. Thanks for spending time with me today.